yeah.
Can't be jaunty now.
You can't be jaunty. You're going to be sad about that.
Is that okay?
Yeah, we're all good.
Imagine.
We're all recording.
Yeah. Good.
Yeah.
Romesh, welcome and thank you very much for agreeing to do the interview.
No worries. Good to see you.
And it's great to be in your studio, the fabled Longwave recording studios.
Yeah, been here now for, I think it's probably over 10 years.
Right.
But yeah, I moved studio a while ago, and then this used to be someone's studio, but this was like a live room.
Right.
And then there's a studio on the left, which was their control room, and we kind of just started again with it really, and took it. Luckily, the next room was available, so yeah, and I've been here for quite a while now.
Great. How many records do you think you've probably done here?
I have no idea.
Yeah.
Like
Too many.
I keep trying to think about this. Like, how many songs have I ever have I worked on? Like, I don't know. That's a lot.
Yeah.
It's definitely a lot.
Yeah. So, how did you start? Because obviously you've got a defined name in music now, and people like recognise your name. Also, we'll talk about some of the acts you've worked with. I mean, there's some like serious heavy hitters. But how did you start with the whole production?
I think it was. I got into music, and like I was, and it's funny you're interviewing me actually, because I was a big Ocean Colour Scene fan at the time. But like I got into Oasis and
Right.
like all that kind of scene, and it made me pick up a guitar basically.
Okay.
That's what it did, and then through picking up the guitar, it made me want to learn. Okay, how do I get these guitar sounds to come out of
Right.
the speakers, and then that was like a whole time in my life. Then was just like buying different guitar rack mount units and like trying to get these sounds and like kind of almost designing sounds that I wanted to hear, and I think that's where the kind of obsession started with like recording. And then I obviously make do like write songs and like do demos and stuff as you do as a guitarist. And then I just kind of really enjoyed doing that. And so like, I was in a band when I was younger, and I hated being in a band, but I loved going into the studio and like recording our songs and stuff, and that whole thing just got me like just really fascinated about it, and like combined with me searching for guitar tones and stuff, it was just like just all made sense.
Right.
So I kind of just started just buying small bits of equipment that nothing expensive, just stuff to do what I needed to do, and just taught myself really, just like kind of just locked myself away in the room and just tried to learn the kind of science behind audio and all that stuff, and I was just kind of working. I would just like, there would be friends nearby who were like playing guitar, and so I'd like record them, just to get some practice. Started that really, and then I eventually got enough equipment together that I could record a band, and I think I'd like tested it with a band that I knew, and it was all working, and then somehow my phone rang asking if that's what I do, and like I just blagged my way onto the set.
I've done it for years.
Done it loads of times, and that was it then, and it just started there really.
And who was the first band you did?
It was a band called Infused.
Infused.
Who definitely not around anymore. But yeah, like just kind of just blagged my way on, because and I still stand by that. I think one thing I kind of always tell students is just go head first into things. That's the only way you learn your mistakes.
Yeah, I mean you can study it forever.
Of course you can, yeah.
But until you're actually in the real world,
you learn all the mistakes by actually doing it.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, it's like, why doesn't that bass drum sound right?
Yeah.
In theory, it should sound awesome.
Yeah.
But obviously it's like the drummer's kit is terribly tuned.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Bass player can't play in time. What am I going to do?
Yeah.
Oh, that's really cool. So then to make it into an actual career, when was there a point where you thought, oh, okay, I'm bringing in enough now, and I'm starting to get more regular calls?
So I think it was there was a band called Dopamine who was still there, and they kind of they stopped playing and they started playing, but they're back together again now. But they were really big at the time, like in the Welsh music scene, and I did some demos for them a while ago, and they really liked them, and then I ended up doing their first album, and that kind of worked out really well for me because it was a time when there were like, I mean there still are, but the music scene of that kind of genre was like huge. Like we had all the bands at the time, and so my name kind of got around straight away, because I'd done that record. And then I think like probably the next step from there would have been a band called Kids in Glass Houses.
Right, okay.
They were friends of mine, and I went to I think I just went to like rehearsal room to watch them, and I was like, these songs are amazing, and like, why, we should record them. And at the time they weren't very good at like organising stuff. And I just remember going, right, we're doing it on this, just and then that they became quite a big big band, and it was moving quite fast for them. And again with that, my name went with it, and people were like then started calling me because they liked the sound of that record and they wanted it for their own band. So
it's that thing when you get the A&R people again. Oh,
yeah.
Let's see if he's available or she.
Yeah. So it was basically, it was by doing other records that kind of, and I think that still happens today. It's like, it's huge. But yeah, that's kind of where it all started, really.
Yeah. So obviously you were saying something about a band called Ocean Colour Scene, but obviously Oasis as well. I know you're a big fan.
Huge fan, yeah.
So the music you make, slightly different from that, isn't it?
It is. It's different, but in terms of the way I look at production and song arrangements, there's definitely similarity. It's like a lot of those songs, like those Oasis songs, for instance, are so simple. There's like hardly anything to it, and that taught me a lot about like how songs, how you can kind of make something really memorable. And so like, I mean, it's not the same kind of music I'm doing, but still there's a lot I take from those records that I kind of love listening to. And Oasis especially, when you listen to a lot of their definitely Maybe and stuff, it's just a wall of guitars.
Absolutely.
And the vocal just carries it. There's no fancy backing vocals going on or like any production tricks. It's just like, here you go, here's the song.
And occasionally you get a middle eight and a really short guitar solo.
But I mean, like with the kind of work I do, I mean, there's more production sound, there's more like kind of production goes into it, I guess, which because naturally with the kind of artists I work with, but the whole that whole thing about the songs just being nice and simple, and the arrangements, I think especially now, one of the things that I kind of have to steer people, newer artists mainly, is just like, we live in a Spotify world now, and it's like, if your goal, I mean, not everyone wants to do that, but if your goal is to kind of be successful in that world, then you can't have an intro that's like a minute long and the vocal doesn't come in until. So, all that stuff taught me, all those like great songs were just so simple. Yeah,
I mean it's quite traditional, isn't it? Really. Yeah. In a way, I mean, you go back to, I don't know, Free or bands like that. It's like, well, it's actually the song, the vocal, and everything kind of supports around it. But of course, then if you like sort of fast track from, I don't know, Kids in Glass Houses to Bring Me the Horizon, particularly like the live album, the Albert Hall one mix. I mean, that's quite extravagant.
Yeah, it was. I think that's one of the probably most difficult thing I've had to mix ever, because it was the band playing a one-off show with a full orchestra and a choir on top, and the hard thing was always, Bring Me the Horizon, a very big sounding, widescreen kind of sounding band. Yeah. To try and, you've got to get that to be big, and then you've got to fit an entire orchestra with the stuff and the choir on top. Like, it was just difficult. Yeah. Like, I remember just kind of, because I was at the show as well, so like I knew what it felt like and everything, and I wanted to make sure that was kind of captured.
Yeah.
So yeah, you know, it was very difficult, but like I love how it came out. And,
Yeah.
You know, it was. It's, you know, I've had a lot of people kind of come up to me afterwards and like, you know, say quite nice things about
Yeah.
the mix and stuff. So
Which is
it
awesome.
was worth it. You know,
Yeah,
it was like,
The pain was worth it. Yeah. And then sort of then with Ammo as well. So were you involved sort of like a pre-production stage of that?
No, they called me up after the Royal Albert. I'd done the Live from Wembley DVD with them, which they really enjoyed, and then they got me to do the Royal Albert Hall one. And then we were at the screening we had a private screening in London for the Royal Albert Hall thing, like in a cinema. And Ollie just came up to me afterwards and was like, "So where are we going then?" And I was like, "For what? Is it the next album?" I'm like, "Oh, right, okay." And so they got me in to record that album. We spent 2 months in a place called Sphere in North Hollywood.
Okay, yeah.
Great studio. My friend Francesco built it. It used to be Linda Perry's studio.
Right, okay.
And yeah, so we spent 2 months there, which was, you know, it was great. But yeah, you know, we had 2 studios on the go. And yeah, no, it was just like, it was super fun. It was like, I wanted to kind of switch it, because being in one room for 2 months on a record is like, can be a bit, you know, it can get a bit tough. So we would switch, because Sphere had an A and a B room. So like we'd do drums for like 3 or 4 songs, and then we'd move into Studio B for 2 weeks and do all the dubs, all the guitars and bass and all that. And then once we'd finished that batch of songs, we'd move back in the other room, which was really good because it just changed the scenery a little bit. It kept it fresh. You know, you're not stuck in the same surroundings for too much. You kind of like, you know, I definitely found it more, you know, inspiring that way. You know, it just gives you new ideas to do stuff. And
no, absolutely, and a nice environment to be in as well.
Yeah.
Something like Spheres. I mean, there's the old. Is the one still in Brixton still going?
no, I think that one.
You got rid of that
you
one.
moved all the
Yeah.
gear,
Yeah, because that was really cool. I remember we'll probably not have this in there, but I'm so pleased to have got the bass player from Duran Duran. What's his name? One of the bass player from Duran Duran. Anyway, he'd sold him his bass guitar. And he was like, "Damn, when you go see this, is amazing." And guess who it used to be? Guess who he got it off? And it was the bass player from Chic. And I'm like,
what bass was it?
it was a Precision something or other.
I think it still might be there.
Yeah. All right.
I think we might have even tried it.
I was like, "Do you want to sell it?" He's like, "No."
Yeah.
Okay.
He moved all the gear over,
Right.
so like pretty much everything.
Yeah. Okay, so then you're sort of working with Bring the Horizon, sort of like very now.
Yeah.
But also you work with some absolute sort of what we could go down as sort of the Hall of Fame in rock music, sort of Motorhead.
Yeah, that was cool. I mean, I got asked because they were doing a record which is called The World Is Yours. We were doing that one, and Phil had to come. They were recording in America, but Phil had to come back to the UK, and I got a call to work on the record, basically do all of Phil's guitars, and that was it's just like an amazing experience, because like I love working with Phil because every day you get a new Motorhead story, and like those stories are just like there's some incredible tales they've got up to. But no, it's wicked. Really great to work with him. Like, you know, he's like, his band's legendary, and like to get to work on a record for that band was just insane at the time. And since then he asked me to do. He's got a new band, Phil Campbell and the Bastard Sons, which I produced that record with him, and we had a great time. We did it here. We did some of it at Rockfield. We had like an amazing time, and he's just really fun to be around. You know? It's quite sarcastic at times, and he's great.
Yeah. So when you work with people who've got a lot of experience. Yeah. Old, but I've got a lot of experience in business. Can you see in business and making music? Can you see? Are they? Obviously, it depends on each different people, but that's sort of because obviously you've got a huge amount of experience in what you do. Working with someone like Phil, obviously, has got a lot of experience, and then sort of going to working with newer artists who probably fresh to the whole thing. Do you think that body of knowledge or way of doing things really helps, and is like the sort of thing that people should try and build up before they actually
I think
stuck in, so to speak.
I think it varies, to be honest. I mean, like, when I go into records, half of my job is to kind of read people in how they want to work, and that's a big thing because you want everyone to feel comfortable. So, I never want to kind of impose, oh, this is how we're going to do everything. It's all about making sure everyone has a great time and all that. With someone like Phil, he's made, I mean, I don't even know how many records Motorhead have made, but it's a lot.
A lot.
So you just gotta, as long as he's having a good time,
Yeah.
and it's fun, and maybe try something that he's never tried before. I don't know, but then you've got newer artists who haven't got that kind of experience. But it's also great because maybe they're a little more up for trying new things out, and I think everyone's different, and I never treat anyone in the same way. I kind of look at the album we're making or whatever, and you have to kind of change things up now.
No, absolutely.
Not everyone wants to make music in the same way. And
Fortunately, otherwise it would
otherwise it'd be boring.
be really dull. Do you ever get because obviously you do a lot of mixed work as well, so obviously you make records from scratch, but a lot of mixed work.
Yeah.
Is that? I mean, that's a different headset, isn't it? Because you haven't recorded the sounds.
Yeah, and I'm getting more and more of that stuff at the moment because I think just the way technology's going, a lot of people are kind of, I don't want to use the word cutting corners, but sometimes it is. Sometimes it is. Some people do a great job, but people are kind of recording certain things at home, and so I'm getting a lot of that coming in. Because obviously the mixing is where you put it all together, and that's something that recording equally, you need to know what you're doing. But mixing is where you can fix all those problems that a lot of people who don't know what they're doing recording. So I've been doing loads of that stuff. It is a different mindset because you have to kind of straight away tune into what they have been trying to do rather than what I've been trying to do. So all the time I'll ask for a rough mix or the monitor mix because I know that they would have probably been listening to that over and over again. So that's roughly what they are looking for.
Yeah.
And then for me to take that and make it more presentable
Make
and
it better.
Yeah. So I always listen, I always kind of insist, Sammy, I'm not one of those people who oh no, just let me do my own thing. No, it's important because there's no point me mixing it and getting it completely wrong.
Yeah.
At the same time, a lot of people do come to me for the sound of my mixes, so I have to do that as well. But I think just understanding, okay, they were trying to do this kind of thing here, so just got to reference that stuff. When you do it, really.
Do you ever get anything? Obviously, we won't mention any names, though. You just go, oh my god.
Have they? Yeah. I mean, like I said, the way. It's I think it's great that people can use this technology and do their own stuff, but the amount of stuff I have to fix a lot of the time is just it's growing. Where there's something to be said for someone who's recorded it really well. There's such a you can mix anything and make it good, but if the recording's great in the first place, then the mix is going to be even
half the job is done. Particularly if you've been in from the get-go as well, because it's almost like how you're going to mix it.
I mean, recording's an art anyway. I think a lot of the time I get kind of guitar sounds and there's 6 mics on the guitar amp and none of them sound good.
They're all terrible.
And it's just got to pick one and go with it. So there's a lot of challenges, but you make it work, and the band get their record out, and maybe they haven't had to spend so much money doing that. It's a tough one to talk about, really. Because at the same time, great songs need great production and great engineering behind it. I think it all makes it happen.
Well, that's just the whole collaborative process, isn't it? From whoever's hitting the bass drum to whoever's even mastering it.
I think I'm quite a firm believer that most, and I don't mean to kind of generalise, but most people may not know what production is, but they know when this song comes on, it sounds as good as this record they bought in HMV or something. And that's where bands are kind of, to me, are making the mistake, because they're kind of doing everything at home, they're mixing everything at home, and then putting it out there, but then it doesn't sound as good as these other. So the general public will not treat that band as a serious band because it doesn't sound as good as this one. I think a lot of that goes on.
I'd say, I mean, far too much. That's how I think.
And then, I think by, bands kind of getting, well-produced records and stuff, then when they come out with that, it's sonically like more in line with what else is out there, and then you naturally become a bigger band because people take you more seriously, and you're not just that local band anymore.
Oh, absolutely, and we're probably, well, I know you particularly, and myself, because we understand why it doesn't sound like that.
Yeah.
But the general public, if they hear it on Spotify or something, just go, oh, it's not very good.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, they don't know what, they may not know what it is, but so that's it. And I think, especially now we live in a world of Spotify, it's like you need every song to sound
really
the
good.
best it can be. Otherwise, like, what's the point when you're in a playlist and you've got all these amazingly
that sound really
songs,
loud,
and then you've got this one, it's just recorded in a bedroom. It's like but I'm not knocking it either. I think it's great that people have got these tools now. I think it's just some people could be a bit they can expect too much from that.
Yeah, it's expecting too much, and also I think because they can make something that people can listen to so easily now, as opposed to like back in the day when you'd have to save up to even go and do a demo. Yeah. Because they can make it straight away, and then they immediately, because they can release it, put it available. Yeah. I think there's that huge sort of temptation to just, I've just written it, I've just recorded it,
instant,
I need to release it.
Yeah.
And then obviously it might not sound that good compared to everyone else, and also just getting in danger of just getting lost.
Yeah, well, I mean, someone was telling me a story a couple of days ago, and how the someone on their team was like, "Oh, let's release this now," and the artist was like, "This is the writing demo. This is not. It's not even like, it's like, it could sound so much better than this. Like, why are we putting this one out?
It's just the demo. Yeah. I haven't even finished the song. Yeah. I mean, with that sort of, with the people who are making it, we really want to, trying to keep them. Okay, not yet. It's not quite there. Then conversely, the other side is that sort of more sort of when people are signed to labels as well, particularly if they're relatively or they're getting successful, and then they've just toured that album, and there's like, okay, we need the next one. Do you ever get what you'd see as like, well, pressure? Obviously, there's pressure and everything, but interference from more sort of the business side, like A&R management.
I mean, I always tell artists who are just newly signed, write as many songs as you can now, because it won't be long before the label wants the next record, and then you'll go in panic mode. Yeah. So I always, and I think a lot of bands write their best songs early on. It's kind of the thing. It's
just true.
So I always kind of say to artists who, when the newly signed ones, like, just write as many songs as you can now. Now is the time to get them, and just keep them in the bank. You can revisit them then when you have to write album 2. But I mean, I see it. Yeah, there's definitely pressures to kind of beat what you've done, and I think also, I mean, doing Funeral for a Friend, that was always a tough one, because their first record was just so hugely successful, and it changed. It was like such an inspiring record for a lot of it. It was massively influential in that genre. Yeah. That I always felt when you're making a new record, it was people just wanted to hear that one again. They didn't want to make Casually Dressed 2, but you're always fighting through. It happens with every band. You always get those bunch of fans who they just want something that sounds like the first record, and so it's hard. But you've got to keep making different records. Otherwise, what's the point? It's like those first records are always there if you want to listen to them again.
Yeah, exactly. You can still put it on. I suppose it's that thing of whoever's making the music, the artists, producers, everyone involved is like trying to explore where they can take it, which sometimes the audience will go along with them. Yeah. And then sometimes you get some sections of an audience who are like, I just want the last record but with different songs.
I always think it's a safe option if you want to explore on a record, but you've at least got those couple of singles which are kind of a crossover point from the last one. I don't think there's anything wrong with doing that, and that way you kind of, it's not a complete like, oh, this is a completely different thing, but you kind of take them on that journey into the new album. Right?
Yeah.
So definitely done that a lot with some artists.
Yeah.
But then you've got some artists who they're more than happy to just take the risk and go. They have an idea, and I massively respect that as well.
We're going to go that. We're going to go this way with it.
It takes a lot to
absolutely
kind of believe in it and go for it, and most of the time it does pay off.
Yeah. Well, I think those sort of things. If excuse me, if someone wants to take what possibly the fans or the record label may perceive as a risk, if it then comes off, they're the sort of things that really stand the test of time, aren't they? Because you could, without getting too sort of highbrow about it, that's more like producing art, because it wasn't like, oh, let's follow the formula that we know is commercially successful. Let's do.
I kind of like knowing the story. Like, I mean, not to go back to Oasis, but like, I love knowing when I listen to Be Here Now. I love knowing that, the kind of state that band was in at the time, and like it kind of makes sense to me with the music. So like, I kind of like having a band bringing out a different sounding record, because it tells a lot of the story of where they are at the time.
Yeah. I mean,
it's at the same time though, it's difficult because you don't want to alienate the fan base you created as well. So like, it's tough.
Yeah. I mean, there was a point in the making of that Noel was like, I've got about 80 different guitars, so many different amps and amp heads. I'm spending days and days and days trying different setups. And he's like, well, back in the day, I'd have just used my Marshall with my normal guitar and done it in a couple of takes. It's like, I've spent a week and it's all But it's funny because, as you said, you can kind of hear that in the record.
And I part of why I like it is like you know what they kind of went through making it, and that's what it is. That's you can't change that. It's like,
absolutely. Well, it gives it a lot of personality and character as well.
Exactly.
What would you say is so far? Is there a particular record you've made where you've actually surprised yourself? There you go. As in how good it is, not as like, oh my god, that is terrible. How did I manage that?
I don't know how to answer that.
Yeah.
I think, I don't know, it's quite difficult for me. Like, there's definitely records that I haven't listened to that I've made for ages, and I put them on and be like, I forgot how good that came out. And I don't know, there's definitely records that are important to me, like that.
Yeah, maybe that's a better question.
Yeah, like I think Smart Casual by Kids in Glass Houses was like massively important to me because of what it did for me as a producer. Like, that was kind of the moment that I realised how busy I was getting, and also kind of told me, okay, you can do this as a career. It's happening now. So I'm just really proud of that record as well. Just how it sounds like it. We all wanted this kind of really exciting, summery kind of sounding record, and I do put it on in the summer still, and like it gives me that feeling. So like I think job was done in that sense. So
was it a quick record to make?
It took a month to record, and then maybe like half a month to mix, something like that. And then like we did like some B-side sessions, and we had just kind of okayed everything on the record, and then we did a B-side session. I was like, no, this song's got to go on the album. Go on. So we had to pull, like kind of convince the label to put that one on. So I mean, I don't know, maybe 2 months to get the whole thing completely
which is pretty quick.
Yeah, I mean, by today's world though, it's
that's ages.
Yeah, that's a long time.
Yeah.
But things have changed over the years, and we don't kind of have as much time as we'd like.
Yeah.
Budgets and all that. So.
Yeah. Well, I suppose I mean, sort of, they can be really imposing, and it's like people trying to rush you to get things done. Is that mix ready? And then you said, I've just finished it, send it off, and they say, but can you just change that? And you get,
I think with labels, I think the hard thing is sometimes convincing them. If we do have, I think even with bands as well, it's just like sometimes I want to do it quickly just because of budget constraints. It's like, but if you have this extra week, even that week, we could just change so much of how we work. So. It's tough. I mean, mixes is a different thing. Like we you get some clients who are totally fine, you know, like hardly any revisions, anything.
Yeah.
And then there are other clients. I mean, I don't get it very much, to be honest, but there's some, and they're trying to change things that really don't, like, it's not gonna change anything, to be honest. Like,
it's not going to buy the country house. That change.
Yeah. It's like I think there are some people who just got maybe, you know, we all have over time like just got very microscopic about things, and I've kind of done the opposite. I'm like, I don't take as long as I used to mixing now, because I'm like, does this feel good? Have I got it across? Cool, it's done. You know,
That's it.
like,
Yeah.
I've kind of I've just stopped second guessing everything.
Right.
There's so much stuff that doesn't matter. Like, no one cares how loud the hi-hat is, and like, you know, it's,
Apart from the drummer, no one's going to care.
exactly, you know, it's like it's how do I get the song across and does it sound exciting? And you know, I kind of like, when I'm mixing a song, I kind of picture where it's going to end up. You know, like if I know it's for radio, then that might change my approach a little bit. But I always have that in the back of my mind, and then when I play it back and I think I'm done, I'm like, I try and put myself in that place and as a fresh listener.
Okay. Yeah.
Which is hard to do when you've listened to the song about 100 times, but I try and do that because, like, I just kind of imagine what it's like to hear it for the first time, and then, you know, But,
I mean, that's a great place to be in, because that sort of, when you narrow down and get obsessed with the tiny little details, and you know, is this loud, is that loud, you know, all the tiny little minutiae. I mean, I remember I spent about 3 days working on the string part, and I was just like doing a rough mix. And my wife had been away, and she came in after 3 days. I said, "Oh, you've got to listen to this." I played it. She said, "I'll put the vocal in there." And I put the vocal in. She said, "The song's shit." So then you think, these 3 days I've agonised over just chopping them as well and moving them around.
Well, that's the other thing. It's like even when I'm mixing now, like, or even when I'm, you know, making songs, most of the time the vocal is in there at all times, because a lot of people kind of make this mistake and they mix with like no vocal in there, and by the time you put the vocal in, there's no room for it, or you've just like everything else is taking up so much space, and you just try and fit the vocal in, which is the most important thing of the song.
The most important.
So you know, definitely.
Oh, that's really good. Do you do that thing that mix from the bottom up as well?
Kind of. I definitely start with like drums and bass, and try and get that working, and then it's random from there.
Right.
Then I'm just throwing whatever. I work really fast when I mix, like, because it's I kind of I don't like to think about it too much. I'm just chasing the sound. Essentially, when I mix, I have a sound in my head of what I want it to sound like, and then the whole mixing process is me chasing that sound and making it come out of speakers. So from there onwards, it can be quite random. But most of the time, the vocals in there, and I've got, you know, guitars up, and then, you know, you're just kind of balancing out, and then you might go into EQing stuff and all that. But a lot of the time, I kind of, it's one thing I say in masterclasses and stuff is like, do most of your EQing while the track's playing, because no one's ever going to hear that guitar in solo.
No.
So there's no point EQing it, you know. Obviously there's some things you have to isolate it and EQ it, but when you're doing those fine, you know, broad strokes, you know, you're trying to get the song to it, just do it all with everything playing, because that's
how it's gonna.
Yeah, that's how it's gonna be.
Yeah. I mean, I think there's a famous one, Glyn Johns, who was probably the guy who took it to the extreme. I think it was when he was working first time with Free, and drummer said, "Oh, do you want to hear the rack, Tom?" And he said, "Well, I'll hear it when you play the song." Which is probably going a little bit too far, but it's the same principle, isn't it? It's like, well, let's hear it in context, not on its own, because you can make it, "Oh, that sounds awesome." Put it back in, and it's like,
I think, you know, there's a lot you have to still do in isolation, but I think the point I mean is just so many people will just isolate things completely, and then they wonder why it doesn't all work together. It's like, because you've been listening to the snare drum for 10 hours.
Yeah, exactly. Which has obviously turned you insane as
That'd
well.
be great. I love snare drums, so that would be fine for me.
That's another thing, isn't it? It's guitars, amp heads, and snare drums.
If the snare drum's bad, the song is ruined.
The song's ruined. If it one of those, it's a terrible song.
Snare drum's everything. It's like I don't know. It's for me, it's a huge thing. If I don't like the snare, it ruins it.
But I get that though, because it's the backbeat there, isn't it? And
Yeah.
and it's ever
It
present.
defines something about the song.
Yeah.
Like I find it hard to put into words what it is, but you know, when you've got a really like, I don't know, like Deftones, you know, they're like known for that high pitched crack snare, and it does something to the music.
Yeah.
And then you know, like there's a lot of there's a lot of like indie artists making, you know, records with that low tuned, you know, Ludwig snare thing, which sounds cool as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, you know, I think it defines the sonics, you know, in the song, I think.
Yeah. Is there a piece of kit that you couldn't live without when you're producing and mixing?
A mixer, a desk, you know, like I think there's something different when you're sat behind a console making a record to just sat in front of a computer screen. And maybe that's just a feel thing, I don't know, but for me, like everything I record passes through here, so I can kind of EQ it on the way in. I've like refused to work in certain studios that don't have a console. Like it just doesn't. It doesn't feel right to me.
though, does it?
Like, I don't mind it for certain things, like if you're doing vocals and stuff like that. But like recording a band, I want everything out on the console. I want it all laid out, and that's the only, you know, that's the way that's comfortable to me. I could do it in front of in a computer screen and all that, but I don't know. There's just I can bend the sounds into shape more, and I can EQ two things at once. You know, like stuff like that. It's just, you know, there's something special about sitting behind like an SSL console or you know, something like that.
Yeah. Well, it's quicker as well, isn't it?
Yeah,
Because you can, as you said, you can do that.
Yeah.
Two hands. If you got the sort of
Yeah.
kinesthetic, the movement of it.
And you know, consoles sound really good as well.
Yeah.
You know, so
Yeah, they do change the sound. So what is this one?
this is an Audient 8024, which I've had for a long time now, and it's been amazing. It's been so good. Audient, like a great company, they look after me with you know, they're really great people. But yeah, like this has behaved itself for a very long time. Yeah.
Brilliant. Yeah. So what are you listening to at the minute? Apart from the stuff you're mixing.
I'll be honest, like I mean, I'll listen to like new playlists on Spotify just to like listen to what's actually going on in the music world. But to be honest, when I get home from the studio, I don't listen to anything. I'm just like, you know, I like TV in the background, and that's kind of it. The only time I get to listen to stuff is when I'm going on like long journeys and stuff like that. But then a lot of that time is usually like demos for stuff I'm working on next. So I mean, I like Apple Music will have a playlist and stuff, and I kind of use that to keep in touch with like what's going on, current sounds. But I find it a hard question to answer. I don't know what I'm listening to at the moment. It's usually just a bit of everything.
Yeah. Well, I'm pretty much the same as well. Particularly if I'm in the middle of something. It's like last thing you want to do is like, put a record on. It's like talk sport in the car.
Sometimes I'll listen if I'm making a record and it's a certain sound. I might listen to some other records just to get some kind of inspiration.
Yeah.
But yeah, like, you know, in terms of like, I couldn't tell you what I listen to. It's just random. You know, like just whatever catches my ear.
Right. What I found recently is putting vinyl on at dinner.
Right.
That is so nice. That's such a nice way to listen
cool,
to.
yeah.
So as part of the flood, my record deck, all my record stuff got ruined. All my records are fine, but the unit and all that stuff. So we've got them replaced. Got a really nice deck and all that. Sit down for dinner, put a record on, and you end up listening to stuff you would have never bothered to listen to.
Yeah.
You just go through it, pull it out now.
Well, yeah. I mean, I like massively miss the days of. I mean, it sounds weird to say the days of CD, but I mean, they've gone now. You know, whether we like it or not, it's kind of faded. But there was something about putting that disc in the car or wherever, and then that's all you would listen to, start to finish.
Yeah.
Obviously, same with vinyl. And there's something magic about that, and I think we're all kind of to blame now. Like, you know, I don't, you know, most of us will listen to this song and then you want to listen
Skip
to
it. Yeah.
You know, we've all done it at some point. But yeah, you know, I mean, I massively miss, you know, that whole thing. There's something like just going to, you know, I'd go into Spillers with like,
Yeah.
you know, money I'd saved and buying a record that you didn't know if you were going to like or not. But that was the game. It was
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
and then you'd find the one that you liked, and like that was, you know, you'd listen to it obsessively, and
Yeah.
I think that's kind of gone for me now because it's just like it's a click away, and it's
Well,
just
yeah.
something.
You can hear music so quickly.
Yeah.
It's like what you're referring to, like saving up your money because someone, you either read a review or someone told you this is a great record.
Yeah.
And you take that risk.
Yeah.
And that's all you then have to listen to for that week
Yeah.
or month because
Yeah.
you couldn't afford anything
It
else.
may be terrible.
Yeah. I remember someone saying to me, you've got to get this album by a band called the Meat Puppets. They're a bit like Husker Du, blah, 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 or Sonic Youth. Bought it, put it on. It's like, this is awful.
Yeah.
But so I'd spent all my money for the month.
Yeah.
So I listened to it for a month.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
by the end of the month, I knew it and didn't like it. But it was still getting into a record.
At the same time, like, I think, you know, we can't sit around and complain about the good old days. Like, you know, things have changed, and you know, it's cool how much new music people are discovering. So, like, you know, there is that. So, yeah, you know, I'm always conscious not to be that kind of moaning person about, oh, you know, those days. But,
Yeah. Well, I'm trying to think, you know, there is that the benefit, and that has kind of been lost of like the album format and whatnot. But of course, on the flip side is the sheer speed of getting things done now, and being able to access something straight away. And you go, oh, I really want to. So you're in the middle of mixing something. Oh yeah, that track, blah blah blah. You immediately get the computer out. There it is.
Yeah.
And also working with people in different, you know, sending files.
Yeah.
So quickly and all that.
Yeah, I mean, you know, there's no doubt that like what technology has done, you know, for a lot of things. I mean, for me especially, like I now mix everything in the box. Where, to anyone who doesn't know what that means, like you would, I mean, people still do mix records on a console, but the problem is then if you want to change that mix, you need a lot of time to bring it back. It never comes back quite the same. Labels don't want to pay for to recall the time it takes to recall. So I learned like, okay, how can I make in the box sound really good? Which in the box is basically mixing inside the computer. But what that gives me is I can load up a track and it's instantly there exactly
as
how I left it.
Yeah.
So.
It's like, obviously, because the old days when you'd have the assistant engineer almost drawing everything with other piece of paper, like writing down where the pan
I mean,
was.
we still take recalls here for stuff. Like, you know, there's definitely, if we're working on a record and we've got it's more in the tracking part of it though now. Like, if we're doing a record and we've got a certain guitar sound up and we may want to go back to that sound at some point, then, you know, someone who's working on the session will draw, you know, or we just take photos now. We put the name of the song on a piece of masking tape, take a photo of it, and then we know otherwise you end up with a load of photos with no idea what song it is.
Which
so
song
at least when you look back on the photos, it says the name of the song and you can get back. So
wicked. In your day-to-day works, producer, mixer, is the one thing you think about the process, business, whatever, you think, I wish I could change that? It's it's a thing that really almost like pisses you off.
I don't know. It's a tough question. That it probably is. Yeah. Probably is something. I can't think off the top of my head. I guess. I mean, there's a lot of stuff in the business side of it that just annoys me. I think that the hard thing that I find is running, because obviously, you know, this is a business as well, and the thing that annoys me is the days I want to be creative, the days I've sometimes got to do loads of boring admin,
right?
And that really like gets in the way for me, and it's not what I signed up to do.
No, not at all.
So yeah, I mean, I'd say if there was anything, it's that, because that stuff just gets in the way of what I actually want to do, which is just come in here and make music. So yeah, I mean, you know, that's always a struggle, and it's like, you know, chasing clients or labels for, you know, payments or whatever it is, like all that stuff just, you know, slows you down a bit.
Yeah, and it's not creative.
No, it's not creative at all.
It's annoying.
It's annoying, yeah.
It's just annoying, yeah. So what are you working on at the minute, can you say?
So I just finished a band called Greywind from Ireland. They came over Really great band. We're just working on a new single,
Right.
which should be out soon. Don't know when. But yeah, I've been doing that. I've been doing loads of mixes. I do a lot of radio mixes. So like
Right,
when
okay.
I work with a few like companies who take care of getting those songs on radio, but a lot of the time maybe the album mix is not kind of good enough to go on the radio, and then so they get me to do mixes for that, and then
Right.
it gets playlisted.
Yeah.
So we're doing a lot of that as well, which is cool. But no, like everything's been really busy at the moment.
That's great.
We've got an album we start in quite soon. So yeah, like I'm just kind of bouncing around doing different things. I also run like an audio community called Control Room.
Oh, that's great. We're going to put a thing up for that. That's really good.
That's massively time consuming, but like super enjoyable, and
Yeah.
that's been something I set up this it's just over a year now that's been going, and that's been doing amazing. That's
I mean, the community vibe of that is great.
it's huge, yeah.
Really, really
Yeah.
good.
And I've had loads of like producers and mixers who have joined who have just like it's given them a new lease of life. Like I had one like quite big producer like just sent me a private message and saying this has like re-inspired me. Like I was getting into a bit of a low point and stuff, and so it's really great to hear that it's like kind of help people like that. And I had someone who said thanks to Control Room I bought a car. Like, it's amazing.
Fantastic.
That's so good.
Yeah, that's really
He got a
good.
job. Someone put a job up, and it ended up being quite a well paid like series of jobs recording something, and yeah, he sent me a message like I just bought a car because of it.
That's
So
awesome.
That's amazing.
That's really good.
It's really cool, like seeing like how much people are getting out of it. That's been really good.
Yeah. I like some of the comments from people who are obviously quite inexperienced as well, and they're saying, so for instance, like, do I charge for a mix, or when do I charge for a mix, or what? The client doesn't like it, but I really like it. What do I do? And those discussions are really interesting.
Yeah. Well, I think like the one cool thing about it is the way that it's set up. There's no stupid questions, and like there's because there's such a mix of people in there. There's some big pros who've had like platinum records, and then you've got people who have just got a computer in their bedroom and they're trying to learn. And I think the one thing I wanted to make sure was that there would never be any stupid questions. No one would be afraid to ask anything. And yeah, like what you're referring to is like someone asking when do I charge for it. I wish something like that was there when I was starting out, and that's kind of what I'm trying to do. Really, it's just kind of make all this information like easily people can get it easily.
Yeah. No, it's really, and some of the special offers as well that you managed to pull out there, and also giving people multi-tracks to do their own mixes.
Yeah, so we just I just put like a Funeral for a Friend multi-track, which is cool, and like a lot of people have like really enjoyed like kind of playing around with that. I think we do a mix competition and stuff, but like that's what it is, but that's whatever it is. But the main thing I hope people can get from downloading the multi-track is the people who didn't have access to like a song that's been well recorded and produced in a big studio, that they can now have that and learn how to make that sound good. Like here's the mix I did, so there's the reference. Try and see how close you can get to it.
Yeah, that's really good.
But,
exactly.
But yeah, so that's been cool. I've had a lot of people kind of talk about how that's helped them. We put in like a while ago, which was really cool, like an orchestra multi-track, because I mean hardly anyone gets to mix an orchestra, so like we even put one of those in just because it's something that very little people get to do. So I think it's just the whole thing is like just getting people who are wanting to learn, like you've got to learn from bits from everything, not just like I only want to learn rock techniques. Get amazing techniques from like we had like Wes Clark, who does a lot of urban stuff. He does lots of R&B, hip hop mixes, and like I learned loads of cool little things from him, that I wouldn't necessarily do usually. So
of course.
So no, it's been wicked.
Yeah, because there's always that element of like if you can keep exploring.
Yeah, I think
what it is that you do and finding new things that surprise you, mate.
Yeah, I think as long as you're not one of those people who thinks they know everything, then it's amazing. Like I learn like little tricks now and again in control room, and I'm like, oh, I'm gonna try that. I never even, I didn't even think of that.
Yeah,
As long as you can be like that,
hmm
and not think you know everything, then you'll enjoy your job more, because you'll be you'll want to try these new little techniques out and stuff. So,
Absolutely. Yeah.
I think otherwise, it can get a bit boring if you're just stuck doing the same thing every day. And
Yeah.
You know.
Well, Romesh, this has been fantastic. Is there anything else that you've got coming up that you want to talk about?
I've got a guitar plugin.
Oh,
that's
right,
coming
okay.
out. It's a company called STL Tones. Are bringing out. It'll be my guitar sounds in a plugin, so you can. You don't have to use it with any recording software. You can just kind of have it standalone, so you can just play my sounds. But we modelled like loads of my amps with the mics that I love using and the exact spot that I like them, through like some of my cabs, and it's just like it's amazing because you can just click a button and flick through all the different sounds. So I think that's coming out March the 6th, I think.
Right. Oh, that's awesome.
That'll be stltones.com.
Right. Okay. STL Tones. We'll put a link in the comments.
Cool. Yeah.
On the video, and also to any of the music we've spoken about. We'll put links so the people who are watching it can see.
Awesome.
And also, if anyone wants to follow the channel, they can hit the bell.
Yeah.
And if anyone wants to know anything more about Romesh, then I'm sure they can get in touch with you.
Yeah.
Pretty easy.
At Longwave Romesh is my handle.
Yeah.
Online.
And also, they can possibly even ask to be invited into the control room on Facebook.
Yeah. That's control-room.net. If anyone wants to join that.
Brilliant. That's been awesome.
Cool. Yeah, it's been wicked.
Thank you very much.
Pleasure.